Today, as you know, we're gathered to just discuss a field of climate science known as extreme event attribution. My guess is you ask 100 people in this country what they think that means, they wouldn't have a clue. And until a couple of weeks ago, some of us would not have either. But when we leave here today, hopefully we'll know it and not just understand it ourselves, but actually be able to explain it to others. But I'm told that this may be the first ever congressional hearing on the topic of extreme event attribution. And to understand why we're holding today's hearing, I think it might be helpful to ask and answer a few questions. First, what is extreme event attribution anyway? And besides being quite a mouthful, extreme event attribution looks at how a specific extreme weather event, such as a particular heat wave or a flood, was made worse by climate change. And second, why is this kind of climate science important, real important? And to answer that question, we need to first acknowledge the fact that human-caused climate change is increasing the frequency of extreme weather events. Earlier this year, the American Meteorological Society issued a report by many of our nation's leading climate scientists and meteorologists. That report detailed, as I'm sure our witnesses know, how climate change has driven unprecedented heat waves, floods, and droughts this year and in recent years. And we know that continues to be the case. And when Phoenix, Arizona experiences an unprecedented 31 days of temperatures at or above 110 degrees Fahrenheit, as they did this summer, or when historic rainfall leads to severe flooding in places like Florida and Vermont, as it did this year. And many of us find ourselves asking, is climate change to blame for this? And the honest answer is yes, yes it is. Now, it's true that we have always had heat waves, or at least for as long as I've been around, 76 years. And, but it's also true that climate change is making them more intense. So the better question, I think, is to ask ourselves the question is, how much worse did climate change make this heat wave, or how much worse did it make that flood? That's the kind of question that extreme event attribution scientists, including at least one of our witnesses today, Dr. Weiner, work to answer. These questions matter because the human harms and costs of climate change are massive, and sadly, they are growing. As many of our colleagues know, I represent the lowest lying state in our nation, Delaware. And in Delaware, we're already losing our dunes, we're losing our wetlands to sea level rise and to nor'easters. And as we work to repair our homes and businesses and infrastructure, replenish our beaches are damaged by these events, we are already paying for the cost of climate change. But this is not a hearing just about Delaware, it's about a hearing about the 49 other states and a planet that we all share, and with people around the world. We're grappling with the costs of climate change. Today, we're going to focus on how it's fueling extreme weather, and maybe even more important, what can we do about it? Now, in one sense, the climate change is already affecting every aspect of our weather. Overall, NASA tells us that global temperatures have increased a little more than 1 degree Celsius, that's about 2 degrees Fahrenheit, since 1880. That is due mostly to human-caused climate change. Because our planet is warmer, on average, the hot days are becoming hotter. And because a warmer atmosphere holds more water vapor, rainstorms are growing more intense. Warmer oceans are also producing stronger hurricanes. And last week, we saw Hurricane Otis wreak havoc, wreak devastation in Mexico, where it rapidly intensified from a Category 1 storm to a Category 5 in less than 10 hours. Think about that, less than 10 hours. I couldn't believe it, but it's true. Let me close and turn it over to Senator Capito, but first let me say you and I don't experience planetary averages. We live through and we clean up from and we pay for specific weather disasters. Extreme weather, extreme event attribution science help us to explain these events. So recognizing that we, as a planet, must prepare for more frequent and intense weather in the future. And as elected leaders, we also need to understand what to expect in our states and our communities. How much worse will our heat waves become in the years to come? How likely is it that a community will experience an even larger flood next time? Extreme event attribution site is helping us answer those questions as well. The ability to do so will be critical as we plan future infrastructure projects that we do. We work a lot on that stuff and kind of stuff here in this committee. Where we wrote big parts of the bipartisan infrastructure bill. This lady right here and I. And then we had the privilege of managing it on the floor, one of the biggest infrastructure bills in the history of the country. But making more informed policy decisions will help us protect more Americans from extreme weather and allow us to use taxpayer dollars more effectively. Let me close by reminding everyone that while climate change is driving the weather, extreme weather, we are not helpless and we are not hopeless. The situation is not hopeless. Working together, we can prevent the worst impacts of global warming by reducing greenhouse gas emissions, and that's what we're doing. And thanks to the bipartisan infrastructure bill that I've just mentioned and the Inflation Reduction Act, we're beginning to turn this adversity into opportunity. And importantly, we're doing so in a way that invests in American-made clean energy, lowers energy costs, creates good-paying jobs all over the country, and makes communities all over the country more resilient. Still, it's important to acknowledge that we have a lot more work to do ahead of us to tackle this challenge. So as we take those steps to better prepare for extreme weather and manage its impacts, extreme event attribution can be an important tool. And with that, we look forward to hearing from witnesses today about how communities can better understand and anticipate what is coming and increase their resilience to climate-fueled extreme weather. Before we do that, though, I want to hear from, and I know we all want to hear from our ranking member, Senator Capito, for her opening statement. Senator Capito, welcome. You are recognized. Thank you.